Good afternoon, Bill. How are you?
Hello, Mark. Yes, well, here we are again. And I think we're getting close to 80 interviews now.
Yeah, we're not far off that,
That's
I must
right.
admit. Yep.
But you and I have had an interesting morning. We formed a group about 13 years ago, which of 12 local business owners, and we meet once a month for breakfast, and we solve the problems of the world.
We do.
That's
and
right.
a good discussion this morning with Gareth Kent, who's been one of our interviewees in the past on property.
Yeah, he did a great presentation on what's happening with property around Geelong. And this group is just a proof of why networking works and how you need a peer group around you to challenge you and to pull you into line sometimes. And that was this morning's session for us.
So our guest today, Bill, is Rachel, who is from Bay FM and KRock. Recently appointed, Rachel?
Well, it was in January actually, but it actually probably feels like yesterday.
It does only feel like yesterday, but Rachel, I've known Rachel for a number of years through her career, and I thought Rachel would be a good person to have along today to have a chat to.
Now, Mark, this radio station has a long history in Geelong, and it's really, I guess there's no Geelong without this radio station, because going back into prehistoric times, when I was a young fella living in Geelong, it was called 3GL. And and I know my father used it a lot for advertising in those days, and it's a bit like the local newspaper, which we call the Addy. It's one of the institutions still going in Geelong, and let's hope it continues forever.
And a well-loved institution. So welcome, Rachel.
Thank you for having me.
So the question we always start with is, where did you go to primary school?
All right, well, I grew up in New Zealand, so a very, very cold place down the south of the South Island called Dunedin. So I went to Maori Hill Primary School and, yeah, had a very, very happy and interesting upbringing down there.
And from primary school there, where did that lead you to?
Yeah,
What was your
sure.
next?
So primary school, then we went to, so in New Zealand you go to primary school, then you go to intermediate school.
Oh, okay, right.
So I went to Balmacewen Intermediate, and that was my first and only ever, co-ed school.
Yep.
And then I went to St Hilda's Collegiate after that. So didn't really fit in. It was very, very sporty, very academic. And we went to chapel 3 times a week and regulation, everything. And it was very strict.
Wow.
And it was an interesting one. So I was a little bit of a fish out of water at high school.
Okay. So did you graduated from high school?
Yep, most certainly. But I grew up without a television. So my parents were very outdoorsy.
You don't look as old as me.
Well, it was by choice, actually. So they would far prefer that we read books and that we enjoyed the great outdoors. So no TV for me. So what that meant was that I grew up in my bedroom at night listening to the Yates Man on 93.9's local radio station. So I just fell in love with radio at a very, very young age.
That's an interesting thing, Mark, because talking about strict schools, in grade 5 I went to a boarding school here in Geelong, which was then St Joseph's College. And we were out in the balcony, but as little kids we learned how to build crystal sets. And of course we used to lie out there all night listening to the local radio station on our crystal sets. So that sort of takes me back even further, I think.
Well, when Rachel said that, actually, I remember, because I was at boarding school in Plymouth in England, and we used to listen to the top 100 on a radio station, and it used to come out of Europe, some sort of pirate radio station somewhere that used to play, and you were always in trouble if you were caught listening, because you didn't have headphones and stuff. You'd lie there listening to this little radio. So I think that's really cool. That's really cool.
So Rachel, what was your first ever job?
So, gosh, so I worked. I like money, right? So I've been working almost since I could walk. First ever job was actually a circular run, so delivering pamphlets in people's letterboxes. And then I actually worked at the corner store for probably about 5 years, actually, as I was, through intermediate school and just, through high school. So loved it.
Well, doing a leaflet run, how many people have we interviewed who have done paper rounds as their first job?
They don't exist now.
So
See, the good thing about the circulars was they deliver them. You can to your door, then you can deliver them whenever you want. There's no early mornings up getting the papers
no
in
deadlines,
the front yards. No.
Subtle difference, isn't it?
So then where?
Yeah, so here's the thing. So obviously growing up without a TV, listening to the radio, I always just wanted to be on the radio. I wanted to be a radio star. And I remember my mum saying, well, maybe, teaching or, a proper job. But my dad really encouraged me. And he said, you know what, no, I think you'd be good at that. So there's one place in New Zealand called the New Zealand Broadcasting School. And so that was that was really the place that you go if you want to get into radio. So, but it was quite hard to get into, and not many people that applied got in. So first time I applied, I actually didn't get in. And I thought, you know what? No, I'm still committed to this radio game, so I'm going to look at other options. So I ended up doing another training course, but it didn't start for 6 months. So when I worked at McDonald's for 6 months, full time, tell you what, if you want to learn how to work, that is the place. They teach some very, very good skills. And then did a 6-month training course. And then thought, you know what, I actually think I need a degree. If I'm going to take this seriously, I want a degree. So applied again, got in the second time. So then, did my time at the broadcasting school in Christchurch.
Oh, that's good.
And what was your starting role then? When you got in
so look, that was a really good course because it was very practical and you learned all the theory, but also the final part of it was an internship. So you then look at all the radio stations across New Zealand. And back then it was very different to now. There were lots and lots and lots of just different radio stations, lots of independently owned radio stations then. And so I was very, very lucky that I actually got my dream job at a radio station called Channel Z in Wellington. So this was a rock radio station. And my first show was actually as a producer on a show who comedy writers for that show ended up doing a little gig called Flight of the Conchords.
Oh, okay, wow.
So we would have very funny writing board meetings in there, and then I did, produce that show and did the day show with Rach, so I was the daytime announcer.
So have you ever worked outside of radio?
Look, I have had so many jobs. So when I was younger, I had a lot of jobs. Left radio for a while there to work in agencies, but I've worked for over 20 radio stations in my career, so fair to say I'm a bit of a fan.
So what brought you then from New Zealand to Australia? What was that tipping point?
Yeah, so interesting question, because that was actually the time where I was like, you know what, I think I need a change from radio. I want to do something different. I'd always been on the content side, so that's on air and promotions and getting the product on air. And I thought, you know what, I need a change. So I actually went to work in marketing agencies and promotions agencies for a while. And there was one that I applied for. I was actually going to come set them up in New Zealand. It was a Sydney-based company. So I went to Sydney to train for it, but then fell in love with Australia. And I actually had to say, look, I don't know if I want to go back to New Zealand. And they said, well, you know what, we actually have got an opportunity in Melbourne, so why don't you go into Melbourne instead? And that was about 20 years ago now.
It's interesting. Bill and I talk constantly about what we term tipping points or sliding door moments. Something happens and makes you do something. You could have gone left or right, and there's yours. You come across, oh, I like here, I'll stay, and you've never looked back.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? That was actually 15 years ago. I'm aging myself there a little bit. Right. But that was it. So fell in love with Australia, so stayed in agencies there for a while, but that caller radio was just so good. So ended up back in Melbourne at a radio station called Vega there, and that was my first foray into radio sales. Do you remember Vega?
I remember the name.
Yeah, so it was a mix of talk and music. It didn't really work very well, so that then changed into classic rock, which then became Smooth FM.
Smooth FM. Oh,
Yeah.
well, there you
I'm
go.
driving my daughter's car at the moment. I notice it's only FM, so I'm pushing buttons and getting all these weird stations. So I wasn't aware they all existed. Yeah. So the journey down the highway from Melbourne to Geelong, how did that happen?
Yeah, so there was actually a gentleman who was my boss for a period at Smooth FM called Andy Mathers. Now, Andy Mathers actually was GM at the time down here.
Yep.
And I was dating a guy in Geelong at the time, and I felt like I needed a bit of a change, and he was building a house, so I thought Geelong might be, move down to Geelong. And then Andy gave me a tap on the shoulder and said, hey, would you consider coming and working for us at KRock?
And that was it.
Well, at first I said, I don't know about that. That doesn't sound very good. I don't know. So I went and had a chat to him. But then after speaking to him, I just thought, oh, God, that sounds really, really cool. And so obviously started here as sales manager, and through all of my roles in radio, through working for the major networks and so on, I have never had a better workplace. I mean, I'm still here now, 10 years later.
Well, that would have been a tale of the short and the tall, wouldn't it? You and Andy, is that correct? And in fact,
wrong.
Mark, we're looking to interview him.
We
in
look
the
to
future,
interview
aren't
Andy
we?
in his new
So
role.
we'll,
but let's
we'll
park
ask
him. Let's
him
not leave
about
it.
his past, all right? See if
he's
it
a good
matches
man.
up.
It is actually. It's very similar.
That's right.
And it's interesting your comment about you love here. The thing that always strikes me, and it struck me today, and I made the comment to Bill, everybody that you meet when you walk in here is a nice person. With the greetings, everybody saying hello, as you were just whizzing us around and giving us a quick tour. There's not one person that looked up going, oh, being into...
It's on the job description.
It was really cool.
What, smile?
It was really nice.
Yeah.
But
be
it
a
wasn't
nice
forced.
person.
Everybody
Yeah.
just said hello. How are
That's
you?
right.
That was really nice.
We were commenting because we're actually operating out of some spare office space you have here that was occupied by another business. And there's some signs on the wall. And I have this, my favourite saying is you put signs on the wall and all that happens is they become wallpaper. And we were reading some of the comments and you made a comment about one. What was that, Mark?
Yeah, don't go there.
Ah, no, go on, do.
Don't do
Right.
that. So Rach, when you got promoted to being the GM here, how did that take you?
So, I mean, look, so I had been sales manager for about 9 years and worked with Andy through that time. And really, I think at the time, I felt that this was such a great place to work. I loved it so much. I felt for me, it was probably time I needed a bit more of a challenge, but how could I leave this place? It was too good. And then when Andy resigned, my gut reaction was, is part of the reason this is so good because of Andy? You know, I don't know if I want to be here if he's not here. I actually think the sentiment was quite common there. But he talked me into it, basically. And so I decided to take on the role. And yeah, it's been a really interesting journey because it's such a special place. You have to be really careful when you're recruiting to make sure that the people that you're bringing in are the right fit. So till this point, I haven't found a sales manager. So I'm still doing both roles. But the good thing to say about that is that I'm absolutely loving it.
Good. What was your biggest challenge when you took it over? I guess there was the other, one of my favourite books is Feel the Fear But Do It Anyway. So did you have that fear when you took it over?
Oh, absolutely, because we were going through, like back then it was a really interesting time. So we were entering into a shared services agreement with one of the major networks. And so we were working through some I suppose some teething problems or some, working through and navigating just how to get that working as best we could. So really just having to rewrite the thing, I suppose, in a way. So there were some massive changes that were happening there, and also just across a few different departments. I think when someone's been in a role for quite a long time, you then and then they move on, naturally that things can start to shift a bit and someone new comes in. So we've been navigating a huge amount of change, and I think a big part of it is that piece around I was saying getting the right people in the right roles. So for 10 months now, I've had about 20 interviews for a sales manager, but we've got to get the right person. So
to fit your culture,
exactly. So they have to fit the culture. They have to really want to win, be hungry, be passionate about it, love what they do, and also, almost most importantly, be, really real, and authentic, and just here to have fun and do the best without, personal agenda or ego or anything like that. And so it's a difficult role to fill, but watch this space. That may be one that we're just about to appoint, which is exciting.
Because it'd be a good role.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, obviously I was in it for 9 years or thereabouts, so I might be a little bit biased, but it is, and they're a very high performing team, very good at what they do. But I think sales roles as well can come with a bit of a stigma because people just assume you're selling a package. Whereas what they do is more work with businesses on, what's the opportunity that we have with you to communicate on air to deliver people through your door. So it's more about helping businesses,
Rachel, I was at a business this morning and I asked the question, what business are you in? And of course they couldn't answer it. And I think I ask this all the time, this question. So if I asked you as a radio station, what business are you in?
So we are connecting Greater Geelong and beyond. So what we mean by that is, so we connect clients with new customers. We connect the community with, the wider community. We're connecting people, we're connecting listeners with, entertainment and news and, what's fun, but also what's serious. And there's so many different ways that we're connecting the community. So
and the secondary part of that question, I guess, is how do you measure success as within a radio station? So without just going to the standard ratings issue. Yeah. Is there another way of measuring success?
Yeah, I mean, really good question. For me, it's a couple of things. The first one is staff satisfaction. If you've got happy, healthy staff, so we do, invest quite a bit in culture and workplace satisfaction surveys, which are anonymous, just to see how people really are feeling. Then also it's clearly like what are our if our clients are getting results, and their business is going well, then we're succeeding, and that then obviously also reflects in our revenue numbers as well. And then there's ratings and listeners and so on, but with 42% of local people are listening to us, you can imagine that's a fairly large percentage of people, and to get clients results, you don't really need that number of people through your door. So ratings are good, but we don't really hang our hat on it.
Oh, well, that's particularly why I asked that, because it's just a number, isn't it?
It really is.
And you alluded to the most important thing of all. It's all about people. And what is business? It's people doing business with people.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. So tell us about Geelong Broadcasters. So what radio stations? So Bay FM and KRock are the two that spring to mind all the time.
A few years ago, we actually changed it from Bay FM to Bay 93.9. But tell you what, it is hard to get that
head.
one.
I know.
I'm
sorry.
Not at all.
Sorry.
So Bay 93.9. Yep. So Bay plays music that makes you feel good, really centred around the 80s, and then KRock's our hit music station. So two really great stations, family owned, one of the last independently owned radio stations in the country, which I'm so proud of. So I work directly with the owner, and we've just got all local newsroom, all local on-air team. Pretty exciting position for us to be in.
And the country music part still going?
So we also have Kicks country radio stations, and watch this space, there's another radio station about to hit the airwaves as well. So you talked about 3GL before?
Yes.
Wow.
Watch this space.
Watch and wait.
That's really cool. So ahead, what challenges do you see as you...
I mean, look, clearly there are many things going on in the world at the moment, both from an environment perspective and also, globally for... politically, economically, we've got a lot of challenges. And so for us, we take social responsibility really seriously about how can we, be the best product and, give the best service to clients so they can continue to thrive and so on, reflect the most to the minute, real, accurate, local news, keep people light, and entertained and positive at this time. But ultimately, the success of our clients is also then this, our success too. So for us, working so closely with clients on just making sure that they're okay and that we can help them. So I think it'll just depend really on how the wider community is going, on, how much we can help them, then in turn, how we can go.
It's interesting, because as soon as you hop in your car, the radio's on. And at one stage, I think you guys used to use the tagline, read about it tomorrow, watch it on TV tonight, but hear it now. And that's exactly as it happens, because the radio's instant. Where a TV station got to get somebody and film it, and then they've got to get it up, and it won't happen until maybe that evening. And the newspaper, they're stuck. If it changes in the afternoon and it's printed, there's no change.
It's, I don't watch television at night. So what do? I listen to the radio. And it's interesting because I don't just stay on the one station. I keep moving around. But it's a habit that I've only got into in the last 3 or 4 years, and I can't live without my radio. That's really what it means. But Rachel, all right, I'm from out of town. Someone told me to give you a call, and my question is, what's so great about Geelong?
Good question.
That stumped her.
Very difficult to answer that in one thing, because obviously we know more than anyone that there is so much. supportive community, the really supportive business community, the beautiful lifestyle that we've got, the proximity to so many great things, from beaches to Great Otway National Park to Melbourne, if we, feel like some of that it's right there. But all of this here, but with the people that are just really here to support each other. And that for me is the most exciting thing by far.
So how far is your signal reach? I know I used to visit my son at Bendigo, and I'd listen to Bay 93.9 and all the way up until you almost got within half an hour of Bendigo, and then the signal would start to get scratchy. Is there a circle?
So our broadcast licence area is Werribee down to Lorne, and the Bellarine, and then about as far as Colac. So that's technically the broadcast area, but I can hear it in the centre of Melbourne.
Yeah,
you
Melbourne
can hear
is never
it
an
far
issue.
Beyond that, yeah.
So there's no constraint on your signal going that far?
No. It
is what it is.
It
You've
is
got
what
that
it
band
is.
and off you go.
Yeah, exactly right.
And I noticed that we walked down the corridor, Mark. Did you see all those Geelong Cats signed football jumpers?
Oh, we love our Cats.
You are big in promoting the local football club or the local community for that matter. But I couldn't help but notice that line of signed football jumpers down the hallway.
Well, I don't know if you do what we do, but whenever we come here to a game and then we head home, we flick onto KRock to hear the banter and what's happened. It's always cool. It's interesting. It just builds you as part of the community, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, we just love our footy, don't we? I mean, where else does a town have their own AFL footy team?
That's right.
I think it's part of what might also bind us as a community.
Oh, it is. It's tribal, and if you walk down, I often walk from my house to the football ground, and you see a massive blue and white. But I can remember not long ago walking down there and just seeing all these people, and it's what I call, it's like a tribe, isn't it?
Yep.
And everyone's happy.
Yep.
Even if we do lose sometimes, everybody's happy.
Yeah.
So, a question Bill always asks, and I'm surprised he hasn't. If we went around here and asked people, what would they say your leadership style is? Now you're chief.
Very interesting. I think they would say that I'm probably equal parts fun, i.e. silly, fair, but also consistently holding a standard, I think. So, holding ourselves to a standard that we're really proud of, but also not taking ourselves too seriously and having loads of fun and, being a bit silly along the way.
Very cool, very cool. So, Rachel, if people want to get in touch and chat about advertising, where would they go? Where do they start? Website?
Yes, so you go to the website or just ring our beautiful receptionist, Sarah. She is an incredible woman, so I'd say give Sarah a call.
And the number?
On reception. And I can't tell you the number, so why don't you go to our website
absolutely.
and go to the contact us form, which is far easier. So KRock.com.au and Bay93.9.com.au.
Okay, excellent. So, Bill?
Yes, well
great
done.
Chat.
Well done, Rachel. And as I said, I'm driving my daughter's car at the moment and I've got a week of looking after 2 grandkids, and it's only FM, and we're pushing buttons, and I actually push it on to 93.9, and as soon as I do that, I see a finger go up, bang, and it changes straight down to another station. I can't get more than a second, so I certainly haven't won that battle. But thank you, Rachel. It's great to hear from you. And we wish you many more years of success.
Yeah, absolute success, Rachel.
Thank you so much
well
for
done.
having me.
Thank you.